She has tortured herself too much with the consciousness of her own undeserved shame. And what is she guilty of? Oh my goodness. Oh, every moment she cries in a frenzy that she acknowledges no guilt, that she is a victim of other people, the victim of a libertine and a villain. But whatever she may say to you, I think you should know that she herself is the first not to believe that. And on the contrary, she believes with all her conscience that she herself is to blame. Honestly, a bullet in between my eyebrows would hurt less than this sentence. Hello everyone, this is Takistawa Reads, and today I want to do a video review of a book that I just completed. And honestly, I just have no words to describe how I am feeling at the moment, because this book has genuinely changed my life. And this is something, well, this book talks about a journey that I've been through for the past years. And I have to say, I don't know if I'm gonna cry whilst making this video, because genuinely I have so much bottled over here, and I think at any single moment I am just gonna start crying and not stop. But the book that I want to review is The Idiot by Fyodor Dostoyevsky, and I'm gonna tell you why this book makes me so emotional. As always, starting with the summary, The Idiot by Fyodor Dostoyevsky is about our main character, the prince, who goes into Russia, or who moves to Russia after spending 4 to 5 years in Switzerland in a sanatorium taking care of his health, of his struggles with epilepsy, and he goes back into Russia to basically for a business matter at the start. And then once he is there in Russia, in St. Petersburg, he meets quite a lot of characters within the high end or the socialite of the city. And basically summarizing the story a lot, we see how this socialite and all these other characters react and behave with or around the prince, because everyone in that environment considers the prince an idiot. And he is considered an idiot because not only he comes back from a sanatorium, which already at that time, and even in this time in our era, taking care of your mental health and struggling with your mental health and having to go to special centers to take care of your mental health, that is something that is frowned upon, but obviously more specifically during that time and in Russian culture or Eastern European culture. And also he is considered an idiot because he doesn't behave like the rest of the socialite, or like how everyone else expects him to. He is someone that enjoys spending time with children, not in a sexual weird way, but like in an innocent and friendly way, just because he considers that children usually are truer to themselves and they don't have to hide between or behind a mask to project to others, but also because he just enjoys the company them and he feels more comfortable himself. Also at the same time, he is always completely honest with everyone, and he is not the kind of person that tries to play games or tries to trick people into getting what he wants, which is something that he sees the high socialite do. And that is something that all the people within the book do to him. Everyone seems to have this sort of interest for him or about him, because not only he is a prince and he is part of one of the oldest noble families in Russia, but also because he has a lot of money and therefore has a lot of power because he has connections. Another essential part of the book, and that is essential of this summary as well, is the fact that Prince Mishkin, the main character, finds himself in a very strange love triangle with two women of this environment. The first one is Nastasia Filipovna, and the second one is Aglaya Ivanovna. So Nastasia is what we would call a fallen woman. She is very strong and independent, and also she she tends to be quite rude and quite disrespectful towards everyone in this environment. The only thing that she has is that she is absolutely gorgeous. And also we find out during the story that Nastasia is actually an orphan, and unfortunately for her, the person that became her legal guardian is Totsky, who groomed her into getting sexual favors from her. The other woman is Aglaya, who is the youngest of the Yepanchins family, who basically have her in like wrapped in a bubble, I would say, because she, being the youngest, she is extremely protected by her mom, who is Lizaveta, but also by her dad and her two older sisters. She is considered the favorite by the mom, and also everyone seems to like her, even though sometimes she might be very impulsive and also quite spoiled, but everyone knows that she has a good heart, and that she, at the end of the day, she is kind and cares about her people. Now, getting into the discussion of the book, I have to say that this was a journey, okay? Like, this is the first thing that I have to say. This was not easy to read. And some of the parts were genuinely insufferable. Not because they were hard to read, but because the characters were so incredibly insufferable. Especially Hippolyte, for example. I understand where he comes from, and I understand everything that he does, because Hippolyte is a 17-year-old guy who basically has tuberculosis and is literally on the verge of dying, right? So obviously he is grieving in a very terrible way, because obviously he won't become an adult because he will die, and he makes him dying everyone else's problem at the end of the day. So the part where he does his own monologue, I thought it was, first of all, brilliant as an author, because I think it was so interesting to see not only Hippolyte's mindset, but also how everyone else reacts towards him, right? And I felt quite bad about the fact that everyone was laughing at him, even though he is grieving and he is literally, he knows that he's about to die, right? So you have no compassion whatsoever for this young kid. But also at the same time, some of the things that he was saying and some of the actions that he was doing were genuinely insufferable. And if I was part of that community, I would have compassion for him, but also at the same time, I would be like, can you just stop? Because you're just, first of all, you're being ridiculous, but also at the same time, it's like, I understand that you are dying, but it is not anyone's fault that you are dying, because tuberculosis is not something that obviously it's something that is contagious, but it's not something that I am personally involved in. You know what I mean? Like, I understand both sides of the story. And honestly, the one thing that sold me about this book is the fact that all the characters are like that, or everyone's behavior is excusable and explicable in some sort of way, right? Like, I understand how, like, the fact that Nastasia, for example, is technically a bitch, right? Like, she behaves very erratically, but I understand why she does that, right? Because at the end of the day, she has been groomed to give like sex towards her own legal guardian, right? At the end of the day, she has been groomed into being a sex slave. So I completely understand that she, first of all, doesn't care about that society or like that social group, because at the end of the day, her legal guardian is literally a key member of the socialite, right? So if I was a sex slave for my legal guardian, I would be behaving worse than her, right? Because yes, I completely understand why she's a bitch, but also at the same time, it's like, I also see the other side of her trauma, right? The fact that she doesn't believe that she deserves everything that Prince Mishkin gives her, sorry, because she genuinely believes that she is dirty, and that everything that Totsky did to her not only is dirty and is sinful and is not Christian, but also at the same time that she in some sort of way deserved it. And like this is the one thing that I really enjoyed, right? Which is like all characters, every behavior and every shitty thing that they do, they low-key have a reason why, right? Like Gavrila, for example, he wants to marry Nastasia and he wants to marry Aglaya as well because of like his own pride and his own vanity, right? And but also at the same time, it's like he has pride and he has vanity and he wants to marry these two important women because he's literally the sole breadwinner of his family, because his dad is a bum, right? Like that is like, I understand why he does that. Or Aglaya, for example, I understand why she's spoiled and I understand why she's a bitch sometimes because at the end of the day she is a very like child that is like a child that is very much controlled by everyone that is around her, right? Like they just see her as this porcelain doll that she should be protected at all costs and don't allow her to leave, right? That's why she has the ending that she has. So it's, in this sense, it's like all characters, I understand all the reasons and everything that they do, but at the end of the day I'm like, oh, you are such a dickhead for doing these things. But the one character I cannot understand for the life of me is Prince Mishkin. He is such an enigma in my head, right? Because when I first started reading the book, I was thinking to myself, oh my god, he is so kind, he is so wise, so he has this personality that makes me want to be friends with him, right? In the sense of he is the kind of person that has suffered a lot and that knows exactly what other people do or what other people feel. He understands people and is empathic and sympathetic towards people's struggles, right? But then when we get to like the last pages of the book, or like to like part 4, for example, I see how people openly disrespect Prince Mishkin and they literally only ask him for money or ask him for favors or to do things just because he can or because he's available, right? And he never stops himself and he never says no. He's always open to lend an ear, for example, or to give a hug to someone or give money or to literally help people with their own issues, right? And like Prince Mishkin finds himself struggling and like not only no one helps him, but also he is ridiculed for his struggles, for example with his epilepsy, but also with Nastasia and with Aglaya, right? And it gets to a point where it's like, I don't understand why you're still kind. Getting into the analysis regarding the last point, I think I finished the book on Thursday and I was literally sitting in the tube and I was like, what the fuck is this book about? Like what is going on, right? Like why is Prince Mishkin such a puss? Like I did not understand the point of the book at all, right? And then I remember on Thursday I went for dinner with some friends and then came back home and had some drinks, and I remember it was like 1 a.m. and I was just like having a cheeky cigarette outside the balcony, and it was like deep dark and like no one was over there was full on silent, and then it clicked in my mind, right? I was like, oh, hold on, I understand this book. Like this is pure gold, because the main point of the story is about humanity. The Idiot is about how humanity is not meant to be kind. We are not kind. So how I build the book, and please hear me out on this, right? I feel like The Idiot is about how people treat kind people in society, or at least in modern society, right? Because obviously when I started reading the book, everything that Prince Mishkin said, I was like, preach it. Like I related so badly with the prince, right? I would always like hear him talk or like read him talk, and I was like, okay, I completely get what you're saying, and you are so right. We should be kinder to each other. We should like listen to each other and like give people opportunities, and like, yes, if people are struggling, we should help them out, right? But then when it gets to like the last part of the book, I was like, he genuinely is going mad because people are abusing him. Like they are abusing of like his kindness, right? And then it's like, that is the main point. The main point is that like this society or modern society genuinely uses and abuses kind people because people have their own agendas, they have their own interests, and they don't care that you are kind. They don't care that you are doing all these nice things for them, because at the end of the day, what they care about is the fact that they are getting their way. I'm not gonna lie, I remember it was 1 a.m. and I was low-key drunk, but I was genuinely tearing up because it was just so revolutionary for me. Because as someone who used to be a people pleaser, as a child, I used to like, if I had an nickel for every time someone has said the Spanish idiom of like, you are so kind that you seem dumb, like I could be able to retire right now, and I'm 28 years old, right? Because like I used to be this kind of person that I would go my way, like further and beyond. Like I will go to the infinite and I'm coming back if someone asks me to, right? Because like I always tried to help people out and to do everything for them. Like I would do people's homework. That's how bad it was, right? And like I remember going into high school and seeing people like using me, right? Using me for like doing the homework, or like being this like the low-key ugly friend, or like doing all these things for them or for everyone. And I would literally gladly do it, right? And I would just be like, oh yeah, there's no problem about it. Like I know that you guys are struggling, so I am more than happy to do it and to help out. But at the end of the day, I wasn't helping out. These people were using me, right? And like that is something that the prince or Prince Mishkin does as well. That is like, I am not helping these people out, I am enabling this bad behavior. And like that is something that I have always struggled with, and like I even struggle with it at the moment, because as a former people pleaser, it is so hard for me to draw the line between I'm just being kind, or like I'm actually helping someone, or someone is just using me, right? And like I feel like at the moment, I also really struggle with being someone's villain, right? Or being the villain in someone else's life, in the sense of sometimes I've done behaviors that were genuinely selfish or that weren't great. Obviously nothing illegal or nothing criminal, obviously, and nothing horrible that will further traumatize someone. But it's just like, when I put my own boundaries and when I say no to someone, it's just so hard, and I feel so guilty because I always, like, I used to do it in the past. Why don't I do it now? Because now I have self-respect, right? And that is something that I feel that happened with the prince, and it's just, oh my god, it's just so upsetting. Honestly, don't even get me started. And this is something that I see in the story all the time, right? Which is the prince has this very comforting soul, or like comforting aura around him, that is like, oh yeah, I'm always happy to help, and I'm always here if you need a hand, right? And like people come to him at first just like because they genuinely need this help, and they want this company, right? They come out of necessity. But then like along the lines, like around the story, like the end of the story, we see people coming for him or coming to him as a way to use him, like, oh, I've lost this money, so like, can you help me find out who it is, or can you give me this money, or can you like lend me, borrow this, and oh, can you go to this place? And it's just like they literally use him because he allows it, right? And like at the end of the day, he goes mad because he could not save people. Like he could not save Nastasia, for example, who was like, I think he's I don't even think that he liked her. I think he just felt pity for her, and therefore like he felt like that was love. But I don't think it was like a romantic sort of love. I think it was more as like, you know how in the Bible Jesus is always like giving people love in the sense of like petting their heads, for example, like petting the head, or like giving them hugs and kisses, and like just like treating them literally like a little pet, like treating people like a pet. I think that's what Prince Mishkin was doing with Nastasia. Like he was like Jesus, and like Nastasia was as normal humans, right? That is exactly how I feel the relationship was. And I think this comes from the prince's own internal issues, right? Because like obviously he is an ill man. He has epilepsy, and he has other mental issues that are not disclosed, but obviously he thinks of himself as a crippled, so therefore he doesn't feel like he's a special, or that people should give him either special treatment, or that should give him the attention that he deserves as a human being, because he is not normal. He's not like everyone else. Also at the same time, he spent like 4 years in Switzerland, so in a sanatorium at best, but in a sanatorium as well, which already makes him isolated and just eccentric in his own way, right? And like I think he feels like he's not good enough to be in that environment, so therefore and also he has seen really horrible and terrible things in a sanatorium, so he feels like he needs to help out. He has this savior complex around him, right? Like for example with Marie, for example, one of the girls that he talks about, but also with everyone else. He has this sort of savior complex where he doesn't think that he's special, but he thinks that he needs to do all these things in order not to only get attention, but also to make himself useful. And like he tries to save everyone and to do what is best for everyone else. And like it gets to a point where it's like you literally go mad because of this. I fully believe this is the main point of the story, right? Which is you will go mad if you try to save everyone, or if you try to please everyone. And at the end of the day, for all my fellow people pleasers, even if you are still a people pleaser, even if you are a like former people pleaser and now you're like working on your boundaries, there is one sentence that I saw on TikTok and is still like ingrained in my brain. And the sentence is, you are a people pleaser. Are you a people pleaser? Tell me one person that is pleased with you. Yes, it hurts, but that is the absolute truth. Because at the end of the day, you can't ever please people, because they will keep asking you for things, right? And like no matter how much effort you've put onto people, or like how much you have tried to help someone, if you don't do one thing, and if you don't give them that one thing that they are asking you at that time, they will tell you that you're a horrible person. It doesn't matter how much you've given. Like it doesn't matter if you give someone your body, or like if you give someone your hand. If they are asking you for your arm and you don't give it to them, they will say that you are selfish because you're not giving them your arm. Because people will always keep asking you for things. And yes, whilst I do believe that there are relationships that are inherently healthy, I have them myself, for example, with my flatmate, with my partner and my sister, I also think that there are many, many relationships that are inherently unhealthy. Like there are a lot of people that are emotional vampires, for example, or that there are even people that consider you low-key a servant or a butler, and like that is something that you don't even realize, right? If you're putting too much effort into a relationship, if you keep messaging them, keep asking them how they are, and like keep doing things for them, or go your way, like go above your way to get to them, for example, to physically go to them instead of them going to you, or meeting in a middle point, or you're constantly giving them presents, doing favors for them, but they are not doing those things back for you, you are a butler, you're not a friend. And that is the one thing that makes me really upset, right? And it's the fact that as someone who has been a people pleaser and someone that sometimes struggles with these things as well, like I find myself thinking, am I inherently kind? Or like, am I really a kind person, right? Because it's just like, I want to be a kind person and I think that I am a kind person. I have made mistakes. I do agree with that. And sometimes I've been an asshole. I do agree with that as well. But I want to believe that I am a kind person, and I want to believe that the actions that I do or the things that I do are rooted in an inherent kindness, right? And honestly, I don't mind putting the effort into doing kind things for people because that is something that brings me joy. But it gets to a point where I'm like, does it bring me joy because I am kind and doing acts of kindness makes me happy? Or am I doing this because the person is pleased, so therefore I am like, I get this sort of validation? Or three, do I do these things? If I do, there's a small chance that this person is gonna come back to me in like 2 weeks or like in like a week and just ask me for another thing and just like basically get into this sort of relationship where I am the butler again, right? And I just find it so upsetting because I genuinely want to be kind, and it gets to a point where it's like, why am I being kind for if you're just gonna use me? Or why do I even am I even kind? And that is something that really fucks me up, right? And another thing that also really messes me up is the fact that I there is so much evil in this world, right? Like there are people dying because of famine or because of diseases that I don't even know, whilst there are people in Wall Street or like in Mayfair over here in London that are like literally celebrating that they got their first billion, right? And it's just like, why? Like, how can you even sleep at night, right? Like I go to work every day, like 5 days a week. I go into my office, right? And when I come back from work to home, right, every day I see the same 4 homeless people, and sometimes I even see 6, right? I see one in my, like, when I get into the underground station, I see one inside the underground station. I see another one when I get overground, and then there is one at the entrance of the station, and then there is another one that is waiting in the corner shop in front of my house. So I see 5 homeless people every single day, and that is only on like a 45-50 minutes journey. Like, you're telling me that there are 5 people in my, like, only in my journey that have no home. Like, and that is not a problem for society, right? It's just like, there is so much evil in this world. People that kill every day, like that murder people every day, or like people that get fired, no, people that fire people just because, or people that rape, people that sexually assault, or people that do horrible things, and like things that I can't even imagine towards people, right? Or like towards full-on corporations, and even like ethnic groups. For example, we have an orange man in the other side of the country, well, in the other side of the continent and the world, that is over here just like thinking of all the possible gains that he can have, all the possible financial gains that he can have. And there are people in the US that are genuinely struggling. It's just like, why am I being kind for? What's the point of me being kind if, one, I am not gonna get any benefits, right? And then 2, like, if I am kind, there is a very high chance that someone is just gonna use it and is just gonna like try to get their way with like their own interest and their own agenda, right? But then if I am not kind, I feel terrible, I feel guilty, I feel like a monster, because I don't want to be this kind of person. I just don't want to play these games that no one told me was even a game. Honestly, I don't know what to tell you guys, because this is something that I struggle with, and it's something that messes me up. Well, high-key messes me up. But there are some things that I can say, and I will treat these as a conclusion. The first one is, sometimes you are the villain on another person's story, and it is what it is. You can't just be pleasing people, and like, you can't just be doing backflips for everyone, because at the end of the day, they don't really care about you, and they are not really that important in your story, because at the end of the day, your life is your own story. The second thing that I have to say is that even though you sometimes are the villain in someone's story, you still have to be kind. And maybe saying no to someone is not you being kind, is not you being unkind. You're being kind to yourself. But also, just because you can't say no doesn't mean that you should. If someone genuinely needs your help, kindness is so easy. You should be kind and respectful towards people. You can't just be a dickhead, because at the end of the day, if you can be a dickhead, other people can be a dickhead to you. So just try to be kind, and with kindness you will find kind people that will be kind to you. Last but not least, the last thing that I want to say is, please read The Idiot by Fyodor Dostoyevsky. I hope you love it as much as I did. If you have already, please make sure that you comment down below, or you can follow me on my social media and we can discuss the book. And if you like my videos, please feel free to subscribe and like the video. And yeah, I don't have anything else to say. Be kind to yourself and to others, but please make sure that people are not using you, and read The Idiot by Fyodor Dostoyevsky. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next Monday. Bye guys.